Hi there, Mike Giannotti here for Copilot Learning along with my host. Oh, he's not here. So myself and Daryl, we've been, having some conflicting schedules. I'll just say that. But we wanted to continue things going forward. So I'm going to go through a scenario that's actually come up several times in the past week. I actually used as research I needed for a customer, and I think that you'll find this valuable. And the idea is this, that, clinicians, people in IT, executives, folks in HR, in corporate communications, in learning, documentation, all have similar needs around being able to do deep research and then produce content that's going to be then assimilated by their field, whether it's clinicians, whether it's IT staff, again, broader organization, learning, management, etc. All of those type of scenarios where we need to do research, produce tangible output that they can then consume. But we do know in today's world that people are on the go. Like, I deal with clinicians a lot all day where, they're just on the go. They're in front of their EMR for the most part during the day, but they have needs around, being kept up to date and the latest from NIH, from CDC and others. And it goes on and on. So here's the scenario. I'm logged in here as Dr. Judy. And so being logged in as Dr. Judy, and no, I don't want to do that. Being logged in as Dr. Judy has been put on a group that has to look at AI, its use within their healthcare organization. In this case, in our demo environment, it's Smarter Health. And as a part of Smarter Health, they're looking at not just the capability of how Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, can really help their org, but in particular, her group has been tasked with looking at how to work with Copilot in terms of HIPAA compliancy. So here we have, I'm logged into Microsoft Teams here, and Dr. Judy wants to kick things off. So I'm going to go over to full screen. I'll take my face off, and we'll go ahead. There we go. And so here we are in Microsoft Teams. We're in our Viva Connections home portal, so we're seeing news and all that stuff. But we're going to come over here to chat. And once I'm in Copilot chat, I can ask Copilot questions. So for example, she wants to put together a Word document. So she could come in here in this case and say, hey, I want to write a paper on achieving HIPAA compliance with Copilot. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and we'll capitalize that and copy that, right? And I'm going to submit it. And this will be very typical things that we're used to seeing, right? So in here, it's going to go in, it's going to search for HIPAA compliance with Copilot. It's looking at information internally in the org. If you've enabled web grounding and allowing people to get outside information, it'll pull from that. But we can see here we go, and it's pulling from these different documents. So we have sources that it's pulling from. Very typical. It's a decent answer, but it's bulleted. It's not really an in-depth one, right? And there we go. It's finished. So we have our sources, and we have information. It's not quite what we'd be looking for. Certainly we can iterate and do other things. So what Dr. Judy is going to do, she understands, look, I want to do some deep research. So we're going to come on over here. We're going to click Researcher. Now, Researcher is an agent that ships with Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 Copilot, right? So with Researcher, it can do deep reasoning. And if I put that exact same question in here, I'm going to go ahead, add that, and we're going to submit it. And now what's going to happen is first Researcher is going to want to clarify what I'm looking for, because again, it's doing deep reasoning. So it looks at my question, it's parsing it, looking out at the environment and out and discovering some information. And look at what it's asking. Got it. You're looking for a paper on achieve a HIPAA compliancy with Copilot. To make sure I understand your request, Should the paper focus on Copilot specifically or include other AI tools as well? Are you targeting this paper for technical audience, clinical staff, compliance, legal professionals? Do you want a paper to include recent HIPAA updates like the 2025 privacy rule change? See, that's what I'm saying. It already went out and did some initial research. Hasn't provided me an answer. It's looking to clarify. Should the paper include implications, steps, risk, and governance recommendations, or just a general overview? So I could start to iterate now and go back and forth with that. It even gives me some suggested prompts. But I'm going to go ahead and say, if you'd like me to proceed, it says just say go ahead, and I'll do my best judgment. I'm going to say go ahead. So we're going to submit that. And now what's going to take place is it's going to begin doing this, what we call deep reasoning. It's going to make its best judgment based upon those things it saw or that it suggested we kind of clarify, right? And then based upon that, it's going to begin to look at different data sources, parse through those, pull them together in a framework, further parse through that information. And it's going to actually allow us to track all that right here. So you can see beginning research, starting to pull together resources. So it's looking out for relevant resources as a part of this, exploring those. So now it says I'm looking into enterprise-related resources related to HIPAA compliancy, Microsoft 365 Copilot, healthcare compliance strategies, and the 2025 privacy rule changes to gather needed insights for this report. Then it says it's starting a systematic search, and it's going to go on and on here until it reaches a point where it's ready to actually generate the content out. Now, it's going to take a while, so we're going to come on back in a bit, but I do want to note, because this does take a little longer than your typical response, let's note the system clock says 3:52, so we're almost at 4 o'clock. So 3:52, and then we'll come back shortly and look at what it's generated from the output, and then we're going to continue on with the things that we'd like as output and how to get that to people's hands. All right, so we're back, and it's been 15 minutes. We're at 4:07, so it took 15 minutes for it to go through, and we can see here all that it did as far as its generative AI, which is great, the deep thinking, because if there are any things that we want to iterate on, we can see where it might have went in a direction maybe we weren't looking for. So all that's available to us. But if we go in now, remember what we had earlier with the piece done just in plain Copilot, right? And now look at what we have here. You can see here it's going to get much more in depth. We have our resources and sources cited as we go. There's various charts that are here. I can affect the views, display options of those. It gives a whole background, and it goes on and on and on. It is a very thorough, lengthy piece, thoroughly covering everything from native controls to purview and other things to make sure that you can achieve full HIPAA compliancy with your Copilot deployment. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to the end. Still going. There we go. And we could go here and see all of our sources. But now the next step is Dr. Judy wants to be able to collaborate on this document, to review it, have others look at it. So what she is able to do is to come over here, and you see I have an edit and pages view. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And it's pretty big, so it'll take a second to open up. I'm doing all this in the web view instead of the client because it is a demo environment. So now it's going to load up that entire view with all the formatting sources in this view within Pages that I can then share with my colleagues. And so if you're familiar with Loop, essentially that's what we're looking at. You can even see that as we go, we have sections just like we'd have in Loop to be able, we can move those around, we can delete, we can add. It's still loading because, again, this is a very large document. There we go. So everything is here for us now. And the beauty of it is I could come here now and I could elect to share. And then Dr. Judy could collaborate on this. However, once they're finished, what do we do with that this, right? We don't want to just share out a loop. We want to, first of all, provide a document. So I'm going to go ahead and say open in Word. So we're done with all the work. It's now going to package all this up, maintaining formatting, maintaining the sources, all the information in this very comprehensive report on how to achieve HIPAA compliancy with Microsoft 365. It's done that. I can now open this document in Word. And we'll get a chance now to see how big this document actually is. And it's still opening, so we'll just wait for that to finish its run. And it's going. And still going. You can see it says 2 and counting. So we're going to let it finish counting. It's going to take a bit for that to completely open. Page 1 of 12 and counting. And I'm doing all this in real time for a reason. I want you to see, although this is not the quickest, just what we're actually getting as output and actually how much quicker it is than it would have been in the past. It says 1 of 21 and counting. So we are still coming through here with all this. I do want to highlight a couple of things. So number one, there is a summary. While that's still counting, we'll go ahead. I'm going to open that up. It looks like it's done. And it does look like it finished at 21 pages. So here's a summary of that document already provided. I can take a look at insights, and it's actually going to generate insights with key numbers. Suggested Q&A is building out dynamically on the fly. I mean, look at the wealth of content and data in this final output Word document available to my users. If we start a discussion, and here we go, there some of the numbers are being generated, and I can click through it across those. There's no discussion at that point, and we haven't done any other activity in here. But here's that all done in this particular document. Next, though, I'd like to make this available to users who, although this is great, the problem is Dr. Judy knows full well her clinicians are heads down all day. They don't have time to just put everything aside and read 21 pages of very in-depth information. So what can she do? Well, she can come over here, select Copilot. You know, in the past, we might say, hey, I want to have a summary of this particular report or something of that. But she understands, again, that clinicians are just stretched for time. They're overworked. They need a break, but they still need this information. Well, look what we have here. Create an audio overview of this document. Now it's going to go through, Copilot is going through the document, and it's going to create a 2-person podcast that can be saved and then distributed to clinicians through Teams and other things so they can take it on their phone and on their commute to and from work, listen to it, wherever is most convenient. But now, again, we're going to lower the overhead and burden on those people. We're also going to see how we can do this even another way in just a moment once it's done generating this particular audio overview. And that's still cranking. And again, I'm doing all this in real time because I want you to get a sense. Although this is taking time, there we go.
Good day, and welcome to our overview of Achieving HIPAA Compliance with Microsoft 365 Copilot. We're drawing on reports and resources from Microsoft, Nightfall AI, Soho integration, and internal enterprise documentation to guide our discussion.
The driving purpose here is to provide healthcare organizations with a practical and comprehensive...
All right, so I'm going to pause that. So you can see now we've got this audio overview now. It's still processing in the back end, and in a moment, with these 3 ellipses, they will light up and allow me to do save as. And the first time I save, it's going to save it to my OneDrive. It will create a folder that's specifically for audio podcasts. There we go, and it's done. It's created it. So I can say save to OneDrive, and it's now saving this particular MP3. And think about it, 21 pages of content, in-depth content, very technical, has already been generated, had a chance to review it. It's now created not just the document, but all this summary information for my users. And, oh, there we go, open in OneDrive. It's on top of everything else. It has created an audio podcast for me to disseminate. There we go, first time, created that folder. Clarifying paper on HIPAA, and now I have this MP3 file that I can then disseminate to my clinicians or whoever might need this, and they can take that on the go. But we're not done. Oh, no, we are not done. So I'm going to make sure we're going to go ahead, and the title of this is Clarifying Paper. So the next thing I want to do is we are going to open up PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and open that in a new tab. Now, normally I do this portion on my desktop. Yeah, we're still Dr. Judy. Got a couple of different things running on my computer here. So we're going to create, I could create a blank. I could create with various templates. So we have some recommended, shaping the future of our industry. Oh, I don't know. Businesses. Just trying to see if there's one that this looks good, recommended strategy. So we're going to open up a template. You could use your corporate templates, right? If you have one for your organization or multiples, you can use those as well. So now that I have this here, it's going to finish opening up. I have the option to create a presentation, or I can create a presentation with a file. So I'm going to select with a file, because now what I want to do is be able to present that information, right? And I'm just going to come back here real quick to this particular paper. And I want to make sure, yeah, we have a general. Okay, good. And there it is. It's seen it. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I'm going to, notice I could add up to 5 different files, but I have this one that I need to now be able to present this. So we've got the final output. I have an audio podcast people can take on the go, but we're going to have an interactive session where I'm going to present the findings and allow for Q&A with my colleagues. And so we'll go ahead. I'm going to submit that. And again, I want you to think about the wealth of work we've already accomplished in just, we're at 17 after 4, and we started at 8 minutes before, so it was 3:52. So just in 26 minutes, we have created this document done with in-depth research. We've created an audio podcast. We now have the skeleton, it's showing here, where it's gone through, it's looked at all that information. I can say generate the slides. Now it's going to generate my PowerPoint for me to do the presentation, complete with speaker notes, in-depth speaker notes that come to us from that very document. In fact, if I had images, which I don't in this case, if I had images in this document, those would get pulled as well. But it's going through, and it's going to leverage, again, the theme and everything of this template. And so we're going to let this finish here, finish running. Adding slides, generating the contents for each slide. You can just follow along. It's letting you know, pulling those slides together. We are getting close. It's applying the design to the slides now. Almost there. Love it. Again, real time. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's just close. I don't need to change that. I'm going to say I want to keep it. And we want to put that into a normal view. And the reason being, let's skip on down. So here is our slide deck presentation. 32 slides have been generated. Let's skip down. Introduction to Copilot. And if I open up, you'll see here in speaker notes the information that it's pulling from the document itself, right? So all that is there. So this is great. I mean, this is really a great presentation. We can go ahead, we could save it, export it, give it a different name. Right now it's calling it presentation 16 is there. And we also have Designer is now part of Copilot, so I could continue to iterate on how the look and feel, and work with that. But we're going to go ahead now that we've got this. And notice we also have Copilot to work on each slide if we wanted. But we've generated these 32 slides for our presentation, but we want to take it one step further. So I'm going to come on over here to our web view. Let me come here. I just want to go to a web view so I can pull up. We're going to pull up the Copilot chat interface natively. And I'm just waiting. So there we go. I get the little app launcher or waffle, as it were. Waiting on that. I'm going to click Microsoft 365. I don't need that pediatrics anymore, because in the native chat interface, there's a range of new functionality that gets displayed. Now, eventually we'll see all this coming in the Teams surfacing as well. But right here, you'll see as it comes up, it starts to look very familiar. But instead of contents here being over here on the right, they're going to be over here on the left with additional fields. So this is still pulling up. Again, I'm in a demo environment, and it's going. And there we go. And so one of the new features that we have down here as we look, and you can see all the apps I have, etc. I can come in here. I have my researcher that we saw earlier. I have some things called notebooks that I can use. There's a feature called Create. So I'm going to click that. And once Create opens up, look at what it provides. It provides, creating images, videos, infographics, posters. So I can make posters, for example, for my presentation. Maybe it's a big event we're doing, create a story around it, edit an image. If I click more, you can see we have banners, drafts, documents, workbooks, templates, brand kits for our org. But what I would like is a standalone video that we're going to put out there. Now, I'm not a video editor. In fact, I'm not much of a PowerPoint creator either. But I've got this great PowerPoint, so I'm going to click in here, say description. Oh, what's this? Add a document. There's that presentation 16 that we just did. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to select Create. Now Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, is going in and looking at my PowerPoint. It's looking at all the slide notes, all the content on each slide. And it is creating a video that I can further edit if I want. But we'll see in a moment what it produces. It's creating a video presentation narrated in natural style with a speaker, and I can edit the voice and tone and all that of the speaker, and we'll see that in a bit because we're already in step 4 or 5, choosing chapters and scenes, right? And again, think back to what we've done. We're now at 23 after. It says your file includes a sensitivity label. That's nice. Here's this video. I'm going to play this for you in just a second, but notice if I wanted, we could change style and tone, right? We could change the voice, feminine, masculine, neutral. We could add background music if we wanted and then adjust that volume. And we have a version history. We're not going to do any of those things. We're just going to take as is. We could also open it up, edit in Clipchamp, or we could export and then share this video out. But let's take a listen real quickly.
Welcome. This presentation covers strategies for ensuring HIPAA compliance when deploying Microsoft 365 Copilot in healthcare environments. We'll explore privacy, security, regulatory updates, and implementation steps to maintain data protection in healthcare technology. Our agenda includes an overview of HIPAA compliance and Microsoft 365 Copilot, recent regulatory changes, alignment of Copilot with HIPAA safeguards, Copilot's privacy and space. Let's begin with an introduction to Copilot and HIPAA requirements, followed by a summary of the HIPAA privacy and security rules. We'll clarify the foundational compliance standards relevant to healthcare organizations using AI. Microsoft 365 Copilot is an AI assistant integrated into Office apps to help with content generation.
So I'm going to pause it there. You get the idea. It has created this full-on video. It's an 8-minute and 53-minute video that I can export now and use. Think about training opportunities. Again, different modalities of learning. We've created a Word document people can read through. We've created a podcast people can take on the go and listen to off their phone with, some AirPods or some other, earplugs, ear device, or over their car Bluetooth. We created a PowerPoint to present in a Q&A scenario, but we now also have a standalone web-based video training that we can, again, put in people's teams. We could put it on our portal, wherever, use it with our training group. But we have created all this content. We're now at 26 after, so 26 plus 8, so we're at, boy, I'm just terrible with math. So we're just over a half hour of work is where we're at. We're a little over about 35 minutes of work. We've done all that work. And just again, to call your attention, we went in, we generated the document. We opened it up to be able to work with collaboratively other folks. We said open in Word and had this entire beautiful Word document with summary and all this other content available for our users. We generated an audio overview to take on the go. We produced a PowerPoint with full speaker notes off of that. And then finally, we used the create function in Copilot to generate a standalone video training, all in about 35 minutes. If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will, because we are talking incredible productivity gains, doing more with less, right? I didn't have to have a whole team help me with it. Certainly I could have a team help me with the review, but I didn't need to. I could have just went through myself and then produced, outputted that Word doc. But think of all we've done and all the time and energy and people involved in the past to get this done. I would dare say if you even said you could have done this in a couple of hours, you'd really be stretching it, because you're probably talking, in this case, with all that content, days worth of work, but done with the help of Microsoft 365 Copilot. So what should you be doing? Get started with Researcher. I use it almost daily now to help me with answering questions for customers. Leverage the output of Researcher in Pages to be able to have that collaborative environment. Output your content into Word. Maybe you're providing that to an internal customer or to colleagues. Leverage the power of that audio overview. Make PowerPoints to present the information. And finally, even create video. So with that, I hope you found this helpful today. I had my glasses on from looking at the screen. I mean, this kind of work and being able to produce this, because I used to have to produce all this in the past. And I can tell you it is time exhausted. Again, 35 minutes. Come on, people. So with that, this is Mike Giannotti here for Copilot Learning. Hopefully next time, Daryl and I will be able to sync together. If not, we'll get something else out. But I hope you found this useful. I hope you try it yourselves. I would love to hear back from you. Use cases where you're using it. Think about training people. Think about people who are doing documentation and then need to get people up to date on the latest documentation for projects, etc. Clinicians and the latest information coming down from sources like CDC, NIH, and others. Think about executives and things, state of the business and researching competition or whatever the case might be, improving practices. Researcher is key. It's that foundational piece. And then there's just so many things you can build off of that research. With that, it's Mike Giannotti thanking you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a great day. Take care. And as always, ciao.